It's Mr. Kaczynski here with the solutions to our Unit 8-1.5 checkup, two-way frequency tables and relative frequency tables. Alright, so the table below shows results of a survey done in an elementary school classroom. We're supposed to complete the table and then use it to answer the questions that follow. Okay, so first of all, let's find these totals here. 12 plus 5 boys gives me 17 total people taller than 5 foot. 4 plus 8 gives me 8. Or I'm sorry, 4 plus 4 gives me 8, which is 8 people 5 foot or shorter, for a total of 25 people in the class. 17 plus 8. We also have 5 plus 4, 9 girls that are a total, 9 total girls in the class, and 12 plus 4, that is 16 total boys in the class. Okay, so what is the real world meaning of this number 17 that we placed in cell A? Well, it's the total number of people taller than 5 foot. Total number of students in the class that are taller than 5 foot. Some people made this a little bit overly complicated by saying it's the total number of boys and girls that are taller than 5 foot. Well, you're either a boy or a girl, so it's kind of doesn't need to be said. Just say the total number of students in the class that are taller than 5 foot. Next, what's the real world meaning of what we placed in cell B? Okay, so cell B right here. So we're talking about the number of girls total. That's it. The total number of girls in the class. So remember, this is an elementary school class that we checked everybody's height, but it's 9 total girls in the class. We don't need to say the number of girls that are taller than 5 foot and 5 foot or shorter. That's everybody. You're one or the other of those. You can't be anything else but taller than 5 foot or 5 foot or shorter. You've got to be one of those. We can just say the total number of girls in the class. Don't make this more complicated than it is. And what about C? What about this number that we placed here in cell C? Let's see, total and total. I mean, that's, again, let's not overcomplicate this. This is the total number of students in the class, 25. Okay. Some people said it's the total amount of boys and girls and the total amount of people taller than 5 foot and 5 foot or shorter. I mean, that's a lot of words to say something as simple as the total number of students in the class. True or false? Boys are 3 times as likely to be taller than they are to be 5 foot or shorter. I mean, the first thing I want to point out here is the word likely. Whenever you see that, we should really be thinking about relative frequencies. So I set up some percentages here. There's 12 boys that are taller than 5 foot out of 16 boys total. And there's 4 boys that are 5 foot or shorter out of 16 boys total. So we got a 75% chance of a boy being taller than 5 foot and a 25% chance of a boy being 5 foot or shorter. Some people were dividing by 17 and 8, but then you're finding the percent of boys that the percent of people that are taller than 5 foot that are boys, and the percent of people that are 5 foot or shorter that are boys. That's not what we're looking at. We're looking for out of all the boys. So this is a true statement because 25% times 3 equals 75%. You really didn't need percentages to do this, but anytime I see the word likely, I start going with percentages. Boys and girls are equally likely to be 5 foot or shorter. Okay, so we got boys and girls 5 foot or shorter. It looks like, you know, there's 4 of each. However, it's not equal numbers. So most people just said that, well, there were more boys in the class than girls, and so if the 4 is not really equal to 4, but I think it's easier to say this again if we use percentages. Okay, there's 4 boys that are 5 foot or shorter, and out of 16 boys, 25%. And there's 4 girls that are 5 foot or shorter, but there's only 9 total girls, which is 44.4% rounded to the nearest tenth. So this is a false statement because 25% is not equal to 44.4%. So we really need relative frequencies, also known as percents, to be able to do these problems. All right, so we move on to the next survey here. An 8th grade student council member did a survey during lunches one day to try and determine what students at Walden Middle School would like to see added to the snack line. Complete the table and use it to answer questions 6 through 10. Okay, well, we have 30 total 6th graders. 15 wanted the Pistons flight crew, 10 wanted the pep rally. So that must mean 5 wanted to meet the author because 15 plus 5 plus 10 is 30. 40 total 7th graders. So that means the number that wanted a pep rally must be 10 because 20 plus 10 plus 10 is 40. And we have 80 total 8th graders. Notice, remember, this was an 8th grade student that did this survey at lunch. So, you know, he's in the entire 8th grade lunch. So he obviously surveyed more 8th graders because he had more time to do so. Okay. So these are totals. These are totals. You can see that the total number of people that wanted the Pistons flight crew was 80 as well, if we add those up. All right, moving on. What is the real world meaning of the number that we placed in cell A? So where's cell A here? Cell A is this one right here. Okay, so that is 6th graders that want to meet the author. 6th graders that want to meet the author. So the number of 6th graders surveyed who want the next assembly to be meet the author. What is the real world meaning of the number that we placed in cell B? So that's this one right here. Okay, well, that's the number of 7th graders who want a pep rally. Number of 7th graders surveyed who want the next assembly to be a pep rally. All right. Now we get into some likeliness here. Okay, true or false, 8th graders are 2 times as likely to want a pep rally as 7th graders are. 8th graders are 2 times as likely to want a pep rally as 7th graders are. Well, you know, if we look at the pep rally, it looks like, you know, the number of 8th graders is 2 times 10, the 7th graders, but that's not explaining, again, likeliness as likely. So we really need to get to some percentages. So here's where I started out. There's 20 8th graders that wanted the pep rally out of 80 8th graders total. That's 25% of the 8th graders who want a pep rally. There's 10 7th graders who want the pep rally out of 40 7th graders total. That's 25% chance that a 7th grader wants the pep rally. So this is false. They're not 2 times as likely. They are equally likely. 25% equals 25%. Okay, so what about this idea that if we have 600 students at Walden Middle School, which is pretty close, there's about 100 kids on each team, so it's 600, how many would we expect to want meet the author? Well, you know, I don't know that this is necessarily the best. There's probably a way more complicated way to do this, quite honestly. We should probably figure out the number of 6th graders that would want it, the number of 7th graders that would want it, and the number of 8th graders that would want it, and then add those all up, assuming there's 200 at each grade level. It's probably more than we need to do, but we have 30 total that want to meet the author, and there's 150 total students. That's 20% of the students that we surveyed that want meet the author. All right. So if I take those 600 total students and I multiply by 20%, that gives me 120 students that I would assume would want meet the author. Again, this might not be completely accurate because it's a slightly different percentage for each one. Let's look at this next table. I'll show you what I mean. You know, it's 60.7% that want meet the author in 6th grade, 25% in 7th grade, and 18.8% in 8th grade. You know, we should probably go somewhere in the middle of that, which actually 20% is. I mean, that's pretty good. At any rate, let's move on and answer this question. If you were on the student council, what would your recommendation be for the next assembly? We're supposed to explain it using this data. Well, I did these percentages. 50% of students in 6th grade want Pistons flight crew, 70% in 7th grade want Pistons flight crew, and 56.3% in 8th grade want Pistons flight crew. It seems like overwhelmingly people want, the majority of every grade level wants Pistons flight crew, so that would probably be a good recommendation. You got to watch this a little bit. We'll talk about it in class. You know, if there's a bias in 6th and 7th grade towards the pep rally, we might want to consider that as a choice because there were less 6th and 7th graders surveyed. But this one's pretty clear that it's the Pistons flight crew. All right, that's all I've got for you. Hopefully this video is helpful. A lot of people need to use percentages more in their answers and explaining things, so hopefully this helps. Good luck with your corrections. See you soon.